Okay, hello and welcome to the stream. Or should I say, hello everyone, David here. That's kind of my thing, isn't it? Thanks very much for tuning in. This is going to be a bit of a chat about a game I developed 10 years ago, but I guess I'm talking about it now because it's now available on Steam. What basically happened is a friend of mine at work made a game and put it on Steam, and it made me think I'd really like my games on Steam as well. So I've got them sort of ready for release and released them on Steam. Fortunately, I didn't have to do a crazy amount of work on them, or at least not on the second one that we'll be playing today. The first one I had to upgrade from a different version of XNA, but more on that later. But yeah, they're both on Steam now. Really pleased about that. I really wanted them on Steam 10 years ago when I first made them, and now it's sort of finally happened. So yes, it's good. So I suppose I should show you what it is. This is Miasma 2. This is the game I'm going to be talking about. Yeah, it took about a year to develop, but that was after we'd made Miasma 1. And by we, I mostly mean me. I made the first one almost entirely on my own. Had a little bit of help, like a debug menu, some other little bits of code, but pretty much I made the whole game myself. And I didn't make all of the art. I bought most of it online, and I bought music and all the other assets that I need. I just kind of put them together and designed and built the game around them. For the second game, this one, Miasma 2, I reused a lot of those assets, which is great if you do a sequel, because you can just kind of like build on what you've already done. And I had a lot more help with this game because a friend of mine from Lionhead at the time, because we were both working from Lionhead, a friend of mine called Pete Lewis came on board, and he did like he completely rewrote the renderer. So he wrote a deferred renderer from scratch, rewrote pretty much all the shaders, and helped out a lot with kind of the general game architecture. But I still did the gameplay, wrote the story, wrote the plot for the characters, put the actual gameplay together and stuff like that. So this is the game, Miasma 2. I was really proud of it back in the day. Released it on Xbox Live Indie Games, and it sold about, I think, 1,000 copies, which just about covered what I charged. What it cost me to buy all of the assets to make it, and I gave a little bit of money to Julian, the guy who composed all of the music for it. He worked incredibly hard and didn't get as much money as he really should have done for making so much brilliant music, but it's completely bespoke music tracks for this game. And we all worked very hard, and that's the thing about indie games. You can work on them for hours and hours for a year or longer, and then release it, and it can disappear into the void. It can be a bit tragic, but that's why I'm pleased that it's back on Steam now. So before we start playing, there's a couple of things I wanted to show you, and that's just how the game kind of started off. So this is one of the first screenshots I ever took during development, and this is kind of how GameDev starts, really. You take like some of the test characters. Sorry, my wife is just telling me I can take the music down a little bit. How's that? Is that better? Okay. You know what, I might take it down a little bit more than that. Okay, so this is kind of how GameDev started, at least on this game. It was just a plane for the level. I had a test model of a car and this angry-looking soldier, and I drew a grid, and it kind of went from there, really. I tried adding multiple characters, and then tried to get some very basic gameplay, just the ability to move this white cursor around, select a character, then get him to move somewhere else. And that screenshot is dated March 2010, and I think Miasma 1 came out sort of 2011 time, probably about a year after that. And yeah, you can see that's kind of just me being able to select a character. This kind of went on to adding different models to the game and adding health bars for the character. There's a soldier back here that doesn't actually exist in the finished version of the game, so I don't know what happened to him. Added some models for the buildings, and then I started building out kind of the flesh of the gameplay, so adding like some basic, very basic UI. And then I started finding the characters that I actually wanted to put in the game. So this is Lena, and this is Eric. I just gave them those names, and you know, I bought them from various sources online, like Turbo Squid. And nowadays, the Unity Asset Store is a great place to go for assets that will be ready to drop into Unity if you use it. But there are loads of places you can get 3D models, or you could commission an artist. But yeah, I started getting characters, shadows, which was not that easily done 10 years ago. You know, you didn't really get anything for free. There was example code, but you still had to write it yourself. So yeah, I used XNA to do all of this, which was basically this kind of like amazing set of libraries and tools that just helped you get started with writing a game, or any app if you wanted, in C#. And over time, I just kind of built it up. So this is now dated April 2010. I've started putting in UI for kind of the grid squares and where you can move to, and a bit more basic UI for the troopers and for your own character. I've started getting the you know, the ideas of like a health bar and action points in there, and then finally getting something in with animations. So yeah, again, like 10 years ago, making fully skinned 3D characters did require a bit of work. So fortunately, there was a bit of XNA sample code kicking around, so I could use some of that. But yeah, it was not trivial to get all of this done. You can see some of the characters have got like very odd like gait and like doesn't look very natural. So I did try quite a few different ways of animating them. Yeah, and then later on put in like a bit more of the plot and the story. So you have these talking heads, and now the game is sort of starting to take shape. You've got like lots of props in the level. I'm guessing this was sort of like later on in 2010, probably like October, something like that. Finally started putting in like the front end, so the UI. And then oh, I want to show you these in the right order. Yeah, so I kept working on it for, you know, many nights. I was up till like 2 AM sometimes, just coding more and more stuff to go in the game, and I was still working a full-time job as well. So, you know, I'd get up in the morning, go to work, come back, and then just work flat out on my game until 2, go to bed and start it all again the next day. You know, I didn't do that every single day, but I did do that for quite a few days, and yeah, it was exhausting. But I got quite a lot done, and you know, you start off with something that is really basic, just kind of boxes and numbers, and then you try skinning it with, like I knew some artists, some of them through Lionhead, and some of them helped supply me with 2D graphics, and I'd put them in, and then eventually kind of just keep tweaking it until it felt a bit more natural and right. You've got to keep iterating as well. And then, yeah, eventually you end up with something that looks kind of quite like a game, you know, with like proper graphics and shadows and post-processing and a story, and that's what I'm going to show you today. If you have any questions about, you know, the development of this game and want to ask me, just chuck them in the chat. I'll see everything that comes up, and I'll do my best to answer it. But that was all 10 years ago. What I've done more recently is I've taken the source code for all of these games, and rebuilt them using FNA. So some coders online have taken the XNA API, essentially, and rewritten it completely from scratch, open source, and you can now use their FNA libraries instead of XNA and rebuild your XNA games. And that's what I've done. I've rebuilt them, which means they're now built for 64-bit processors and also for Mac and Linux as well. So yeah, if you go on Steam, you can find Miasma and Miasma 2. I've remade them. A bit of a blast from the past for me. I'm not sure if anyone else cares, but I'm very happy that the game's now online. And you know what? This one is not bad. Like, the first game was more of like a test game. This one has some really cool things in it, and I think I found like the voices for the characters, and yeah, having Pete on board to redo the graphics really helped as well. So anyway, that was quite a long introduction. Sorry about that, but let's get started with the game. So it's a turn-based strategy game, and you can choose between playing either as Paul or Lena. I'm going to play as Paul this time. But basically, if you play as Lena, then it kind of swaps all of the dialogue. So this would be saying, Lena, have you reached the infiltration point? So it was kind of like, I was always looking at ways of getting the most bang for the buck during development, and I thought, well, if you could choose between your characters, I don't want to write all of the dialogue twice, so I'll just like grab the text and swap out the names wherever I need to. This is meant to be a tutorial level, so just kind of tells you how the turn-based system works. And whereas Miasma 1 was like a hardcore turn-based game where you have your turn and you move each character individually, this I was quite inspired by Frozen Synapse, and I wanted to make this a game where you plan all of your moves and then you just hit go, and everything happens at once, and there's chaos, and you know, you don't know what the enemy will do, so they might surprise you and completely foil your plan, or you might see something beautiful unfold. And it was a way of mixing something really exciting with like the turn-based planning. So yeah, I mean, if you know turn-based games, then you probably know how this one works pretty well. You've got your cursor, you can select characters, and then you can move them within this range, because this is how far Paul can go. He's upgradable, so if I want to give him more action points later, he'll be able to run further, or maybe shoot 2 times in a turn, that kind of thing. And Miasma 2 also has silent assassinations, so if I could sneak up on this guy, I could assassinate him from behind, but unfortunately I've run out of action points to do that. So what I'm going to do... Oops, mouse just getting away from there. Is I am going to remove that order and just run up here and take cover instead. And that's basically all my planning done for the turn, and I'm going to commit that, and then it all kind of unravels in front of me. Yeah, sorry, I'm just arranging my windows so I can see the chat. Very quite important, isn't it? I'll put that over there. Cool. Alright, so yeah, this is Miasma 2. I tried to make it kind of interesting with what the characters were saying to each other as they were going. Now, the enemy hasn't spotted me yet. I know you might look at this and think, he just needs to turn 90 degrees to his right, but you know, I wanted to sort of follow like quite obvious rules established in games, and characters generally have a kind of 90-degree field of view in front of them. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sneak up on this guy and whack him over the head, and then move there. So now I've got quite a sort of complicated set of instructions. You can see in the top left here, Paul's got 3 orders, and if I had more teammates I could give them all a set of orders, and now I'm going to press commit and end my turn, and everything should happen. So there's a kind of automatic camera that tries to follow the action as it happens. So cool, so I assassinated that guy, and now Paul is going to run forward. That little ding was the enemy spotting me. So I'm going to select Paul and shoot at this guy. And then he's probably going to shoot at me. So what I'm going to do is move onto this health pack and pick it up afterwards. Now, it's possible to fail the first mission, so I really hope that doesn't happen on stream. We'll see. Okay, so I didn't kill him this round. Let's take another couple of shots. So I'm going to do 16 times 3 damage, and he's got 28 health, so I'm expecting to get him this time. The green squares generally cover, and the blue squares are not cover. So I'm going to stay in cover after I shoot him. But he's going to get a shot at me as well. Okay, cool, I got him. Yeah, and now kind of the action or the battle section is over for now. I've gone back into stealth mode, so the music kind of reflects that. There's so many little details, like changing how exciting the music sounds when you're in and out of battle, or how it fades between songs, that take a lot of time and consideration when you're developing a game. And you know, you don't really get anything for free. Like these green lines showing what's behind the enemy, and red in front, and the way this line like animates, and the color of the line. You know, it's all got to be painstakingly coded. You know, while you're inside the matrix. One thing I loved actually that we did in Miasma 2 is like some of the environment. So getting this edge of the pavement was quite a big task for Pete. Getting it all to match up, like all of the edges. And just little things like getting the smoke to rise out of the vents. You know, it's like cool little touches that I'm really glad we managed to get in there. So I'm currently out of range, so I need to move into range first, and then he's just at the limit of my range, but I should be able to get a shot off from there. I'm not sure what he'll do. He'll probably run towards me rather than shooting straight away. Cool. Oh, but I've got the attention of someone else. Okay, so Mutex is telling me to use a grenade. But that looks like an assassin up there, so I'm probably going to save my grenade for her. Okay, so take a shot there, and then I'll go and get this second health pack. And he is going to get a shot off of me. All I'm going to do is just... Oh no, I'll shoot at him and then move there, because I'll still be behind the assassin. She still hasn't seen me yet. Okay. Cool, so I've got a little bit of time to plan my movements, so I'll move up as close as I can get behind. Now, all of my characters have got abilities as well, so if I press right bumper, I can see I've got EMP stun. So I'm going to try using my stun on the assassin, and then do I get a shot off as well? No, but can I also use a grenade? Can. So I don't really want to hit myself, or Lena preferably, but I think if I chuck it just there, it should be okay. Alright, let's do it. So stun first, and throw the grenade. Okay, and it killed her in one shot. I probably didn't need to bother with the stun. And that's my objective, to go and find Lena. And of course, if I was playing as Lena, my mission would be to go and rescue Paul. In fact, it's a way of really forcing you to write quite gender-neutral words for all of your characters, because if you know that is being voiced by either a man or a woman, you can't really make any assumptions, and you don't... I kind of feel like you shouldn't anyway. Like, you should be able to say anything, and be able to come from a man or a woman and be said to a man or a woman. The only thing that was kind of annoying was when Lena says, who's there? I would have preferred it to say your husband rather than your spouse, because it could be Lena saying your spouse, and maybe I should have just done the extra bit of work and allowed that line to be both your husband or your wife, depending on who you are. But, you know, there's only so many battles you can fight as an indie game developer, and that wasn't one of them. I'm going to say your spouse. Don't you recognise your own husband? So at least that one I changed. It's me, Paul. And this kind of introduces you to controlling multiple characters now. So now I've got a team of 2, and I'll just run towards the extraction point. And now you can see they've both got orders, and they should do them or carry them out at the same time. Oh, Paul got away quicker because Lena had to stand up first. Okay, she's saying, Paul, thanks for coming back for me. Do I say, I didn't want to? It was necessary. Or I'd never leave you. I'm going to say I'd never leave you. Because I'm a nice husband. A successful marriage should always be based on one's willingness to infiltrate a secure enemy base, shouldn't it? 10 years ago, I thought I was funny. Okay, and you get like a summary of the level, and you earn ED, or Euro dollars, which is like the currency used to buy items like that grenade, and you get experience points as well, which you use to buy upgrades for the characters. I really love that I got this like depth of field effect, and it just means that if you want your UI to suddenly take focus away from the game, you can just blur the entire game and then show the UI on top, and it's like a pretty background, but it really makes the UI pop out in front. So one thing that was new to Miasma 2 was a kind of first-person element. So in the first game, you just kind of like, the camera just wobbled around in front of the building, because I didn't have time to write anything else. At least in this game, we added the base, and these like conversation parts between the different characters. It's a little wooden because I had a limited number of animations to work with. The camera kind of whips around a bit, but you do get this feeling of being next to the team and looking at them as they're speaking, and they turn to look at you when they talk, or sometimes they'll turn to look at some of the other team members. Yeah, it's a bit annoying how I had to like just rotate them on the spot, but managing these animations for getting people to turn slightly to the left, slightly to the right, it's really hard. So THFR says, I hope the story of Miasma 2 is at least as campy as the first Miasma. It is, don't worry. Maybe even more so. Yeah, one thing I've really had to battle with in the re-release is managing higher screen resolutions, because back in the day I was really targeting 720p, and it might run lower than that. Not many people had like 1080p TVs back then, you know, sort of 2010, and nowadays everyone has at least 1080p, and they might be running it in 4K, they might even be running it in 8K. So what am I running it in? I think this is 1440p right now. Most of my UI scaling did just happen to work, even for higher reses, but I had to make a couple of fixes because I never expected it to be running at 1080p. Sort of like, you can try and future-proof your products, but the future will always surprise you. Okay, so at the time I was playing Mass Effect, and I loved these kind of branching conversational trees and the ways of speaking to people to try and earn their trust. and this is one of those things. So whenever you go back to your base, you have an opportunity to talk to your teammates, and you can ask them if they're okay and have a little chat with them. And she's saying, it was all such a shock. I never expected to get captured. You're back among friends now. Thank you, Paul. Remind me, when did Mutex join the team? I'm not surprised you don't remember. It was just before we lost you. So she's our commander? As good as. Okay, thanks. It's going to be good working the Resistance as a whole this time. Okay, and whereas you used to briefly go inside the base in the first Miasma to upgrade your characters, now you kind of do it all from here. So you say, I'd like to discuss your training, and then you get these options. It actually looks a bit small and sparse on this screen, and that's because I'm running it in 1440p. If you're in 1080p, it's a little bigger. But yeah, if I had way more time, maybe I'd do like some more scaling and stuff, but handling every possible screen resolution and ratio is really hard. I'm just going to... Actually, I'm not going to spend any EXP on Lena this time, because I happen to know she doesn't come along for Mission 2, because I've played it before. I can even go and speak to Mutex if I want. Yeah, the rotating on the spot. That'd be one of the first things I'd fix if I was going to go back and spend more time on this. But I'm not now. I'm just really happy it's out. I'll fix any horrific crash bugs. But I almost don't want to touch it anymore, because it was kind of... like, it's a really interesting representation of what my game development was in 2012. If I was going to make another game now, I think I'd make it from scratch in Unity. Let's talk to Paul. Matthew asks, did you ever consider having full voice acting? Yeah, I really did. Yeah, I wanted it, but yeah, it's just there were probably a few hundred lines of dialogue, and it just would have taken, you know, that much longer to record them all, trim them all, get them all at the right volume, find good actors, and yeah, that bit more coding to actually play them. And also I was really limited on the download size of the app, because for an Xbox Live indie game, I think it could only be 100 megabytes or 150 megabytes, and I had to compress everything really hard. Like, all the textures had to be crunched down, all the music had to be compressed very hard as well. Not a problem on Steam now, because things can be gigabytes big, and in fact the game has expanded a bit to like 300 meg now, because I compress the audio differently, less. But it's, yeah, I'm not sure I ever could have got all of the voice acting down into enough small size. Yeah, I probably would have had to hire actors, or at least beg my friends, and then like do a high quality recording of them. Maybe nowadays you can go through like Fiverr or some kind of services. I am going to upgrade Eric a little bit, so let's talk to Eric. Yes, X and A limits were really tight. Okay, let's give him some more action points. Action points are always good. Right. This is something Pete was really proud of. It's a projected texture. So the texture of the wall is, you know, just this kind of like sheet metal stuff. But yeah, you know, this being a base, we wanted like maps and things around. And I remember Pete working really hard on this projected texture, and he loved it when it was done. And I do love the glow that comes off it. But yeah, it's kind of a shame it doesn't really do anything. You know, you can't like press A to interact with it or something. This is where you upgrade yourself, so you go to your lockers. It felt quite obvious to me at the time, but now I'm playing it and I'm thinking, is anyone going to figure that out, apart from the little UI hint you get at the bottom that appears? Anyway, I'm going to give myself a bit of defense. I've got 20 EXP left. Okay, that's not enough to buy anything. And this is the shop. And I basically want to save my Eurodollars until I can afford these upgrades. So the armor upgrade is 3,000 bullets, 1,000 precision, 2,000. Okay, so I'm not going to buy anything yet. I'm just going to hang on. And then through here, this is something I really liked. Pete put a spotlight up here, so you get these like shadows of the fan moving. Yeah. Okay, let's talk to Kelly. Paul, thanks for coming to see me. So Kelly is someone you meet in the first game, and she was only ever kind of like a background character, or you escorted her. Now she actually like joins in the fight, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so if you ever developed games with XNA in the past, you'll probably be pleased to know that the FNA development scene is burgeoning. You know, there's still loads of popular games that used XNA or still do, and you know, more games are getting ported to FNA all the time, and it's still being maintained all the time. So it's, you know, it's really cool to see that this existed. I think I found out about it through word of mouth. Someone just said, "Oh, you've got these old games. Have you seen that FNA now exists and you can port it this way and get it on like Mac and Linux and 64-bit?" And I was like, "No, that's brilliant." And yeah, and that's what started me on that route. And it's really easy actually to switch from XNA to FNA, because you literally just download their repository from GitHub and link it up differently. It's a little bit fiddly to make a new project file, but once you do all of that stuff and you just change the libraries from XNA to FNA, and then there's a few little bits of code you might need to change here and there, like anything that uses Windows will need to be remapped to SDL if you want to ship on Mac and Linux. I think there's like one audio format, the XMA audio compression, that isn't supported, so you have to just change that around. And I did have to download the XNA audio tools to republish my audio library, and yeah, just use a more simple form of compression actually. But Miasma 2 is really quick to get working. Yeah, literally like about half an hour of coding, and I had it running. I was like, yay! Miasma 1 was harder because I had to upgrade it from XNA 3 to 4, and there was a lot of rendering code, and they changed quite a lot of things, like just the default alpha blending state got changed from kind of like a normal boring alpha blend to it assumed everything was going to be alpha pre-multiplied, and yeah, so you have to accommodate for that, either forcing it back to the standard alpha blending or changing your shaders. And then you couldn't even change like the way text was rendered, so you sort of had to like find a way around that as well. I can't remember exactly what I did. I think there was actually a parameter you could pass into the text renderer to make it work again. This also is new to Miasma 2. You can change the loadout of your characters, and it's per character, so you can give them different armor types, and different bullet types and different accessories. So you can set up as like a classic tank, DPS, healer sort of setup if you want. Yeah. THFR says FNA is excellent for game preservation. Yeah, it really is, because it just brings all of these old games to a point where suddenly they just work on modern systems, and you don't really have to change very much. And it was just such a good idea. I should really thank Ethan Lee for kind of putting it together, because it just meant that you don't have to completely redevelop your game to use like monogame instead, which would require a lot of changes. You can kind of just point it at the new libs and it works. The thing is, I think if you developed a game 10 years ago, you may have been in a different like stage of your life, and I was willing to stay up till 2 AM coding it every day back in 2010, but I think now, not so much. I'm a bit more experienced now, but I've definitely got less free time, so the ability to just kind of, build it again is really useful. So I'm going to move all of my characters forward, and I've got like a team of 3 now, and I've got a tank as well. I can move this around, so I'm just going to move that forward a bit. And then the enemy will probably... Oh, there they are. One thing I really liked about Miasma 2 was we got like these beautiful wet surfaces, so you can see the reflection of the environment and these raindrops. Coupled with the depth of field as well, it just makes it... it just all feels very wet. And Pete and I were looking at kind of wet scenes in games for a long time, trying to figure out like what makes something look wet. And it is typically like specular reflections and also the diffraction of the reflection as well. So not making something look like a perfect reflection, but making it look a bit wibbly at the same time. Another thing new to Miasma 2 is the ability to go on Overwatch. So I'm going to move there and then go on Overwatch, and I'm going to move Eric up and go on Overwatch as well. And yeah, same with Kelly, but what I want to avoid is not standing around in cover. So I'm going to stay close to the cover so I can probably move into it next turn. And I think I'll probably get a shot off. Yeah, here we go. Kelly, you going to shoot? No, okay, Kelly isn't going to shoot. Right, so I'm going to move into cover and then shoot at this guy for Paul. Eric... Well, if he moves there, no one's in range anymore, so I'm going to have to... I'll remove that order, so I'll shoot first and hide in cover later. The tank... the tank can shoot at this guy. What about Kelly? What can she do? Well, if she moves forward 1, she can take a shot. Oh, he's going to die anyway, because he's only got 7 health. Alright, so... Kelly, you can move over... You can just move back here and hide. Okay. THFR says the graphics are quite impressive for its limitations and age. With the original XNA. Yeah, so I haven't really changed anything for FNA. Yeah, it did feel like we were kind of pushing XNA about as much as we could at the time. We actually had some weird issues with the content. Like, if I made any change to the code, it would rebuild all the content, which meant going through all of the animations for every model as well. And yeah, I think it was like a bit of a dependency bug in Visual Studio, but it became really difficult to manage, and we had to like split off all of the content basically and put it in its own project in order to deal with that. So I'm going to run Kelly over there and hide behind that. And then, is this guy going to die soon? He's got 38 health. Okay, let's see if Eric can move. I'll put him on Overwatch there, and then maybe he'll get a shot off as well. I'll just leave my tank. I'll move it up there. Okay, let's go. Okay, I got him. So Paul's taking a bit of damage. More enemies inbound. Looks like a stealth mech ahead, and assassins to our left. Yeah, I mean, another great thing about the graphics on this game was that I didn't really have to do them. So Pete kind of took all of that off my hands, meaning I could concentrate on the gameplay and UI and you know, the story and the game design as well. We've got like a full editor as well, where you can go in and kind of place the cover and like hop between levels and just kind of configure the levels. So it's not, well, it is done through is it JSON or XML? I think they're XML files that define the levels. I'll probably do them in JSON now. But yeah, we've got a full like editor that loads the level data and then lets you move things around and resave them. And you can also edit the routes that the enemies take. There's a later level where you kind of try to attack a convoy. So I made the convoy move through this level, and then you can attack it at any point, and then they stop following their pathway, and the AI kind of takes over. So I'm going to move there and go on to Overwatch. Eric can move there and go into Overwatch. I basically want to get off as many shots as I can on this tank. My tank can go on... Sorry, on the stealth mech. My tank can go on Overwatch as well. And then Kelly... Oh, she's kind of on her own against these assassins, but I'll just put her on Overwatch as well. Let's see what happens. Okay, I'm getting a lot closer than I expected. Yeah, and one thing I would have liked to have done is make the animations a bit more fluid. So what happens is you kind of shoot and then people go, and then they just go back to standing normally. Yeah. But, you know, it's the benefit of hindsight, and it is a bit easier to manage this stuff now. It was really difficult getting the animations to play... Oh no, Eric died! Getting the animations to play properly back in the day. Okay, so Kelly took care of one assassin, that's good. I'm going to go to this health pack and pick it up. And then, I guess, I'll come back and try and heal Eric later. Kelly can go on Overwatch again. Oh, I hope the stealth mech doesn't kill my main character. Oh, he's shooting the tank. Okay. Okay, right. So Kelly's now free. Let's get her to come over here and shoot this mech. He's got 67 health, so he probably needs more than one shot. Oh, I can just shoot the mech with the tank. Okay, that will help. And let's get Paul back here. Just pile him on as well. That's definitely going to kill the mech this time around. Okay, Paul, VI have just deployed a hover. We need more time to spread the activation codes. Keep it off our backs. Back in defensive positions, everyone. Those things pack a lot of punch. We're going to have to hit it with everything we've got. Okay. So we've both got a tank, but my tank has taken a couple of shots already, so it'll be the first to die. But I'll start shooting at it anyway. Right, I need to move my troops over as well, really. So let's move Paul over here, and then use an item. And I've got a revive shot, so I'll use that on Eric, and then move a little bit closer as well. Kelly, if she moves 4 squares, she can get a shot off. Ah, but she's still not in range. So I'll just run her all the way over here. Okay, let's see what happens. Okay. Alright, Eric's back in business. Tank. It's on 170. Right, basically just need to shoot him as much as I can. So Kelly's going to shoot at the tank. Paul can move 2 squares and then still shoot. Yeah, he can get a shot in. What about Eric? He's got some more action points as well, so he might get a bit further. He can move 4 squares and shoot. Okay, right. Everyone is shooting the tank. Oh no, Kelly got shot. Okay. I think another round of shots from everyone should probably do it. Matthew asks, can you revive enemies if you feel guilty? No, sorry. But they're not really... They don't really have free will. Anyway, they're just kind of like automatons. If you follow the plot of the game, then it's like the Miasma is the kind of the poisonous cloud that makes everyone follow Wilhelm Industries, and kind of robs them of their free will. Yeah. So maybe you're doing them a favour. Sorry, Matthew. Okay, I mean that's all I was going to play really this time around. That's the first 2 levels of the game. I sort of wanted to just talk a little bit about its development and, you know, say that it's out there again. It's like killing an Alexa, pretty much. Yeah. Well, the ultimate aim of your group is to like free everybody. So you want to release a chemical that actually undoes the effect of the poisonous cloud, and yeah, that's what you were trying to do in the first game as well. But spoilers, you didn't succeed. That's why you're trying to do it again in the sequel. But there are only 2 Miasma games, so you do find out what happens in the end. And there's some interesting kind of branches as the levels go on. So right at the beginning of the game, I said, you know, Lena and I were married. So, you know, how that works out sort of depends on the dialogue choices you make as the game goes on, and also the way you speak to Eric and Kelly as well, because, you know, you can have different like romantic interests, and yeah, and all the same if you play as Lena as well. It sort of doesn't really matter whether you're Paul or Lena. THFR says, have you thought about open sourcing the engine? I could think of XCOM likes that could be created with this. Yeah, I mean, it's not really an engine. It's like some gameplay code that sits on top of XNA, or well, now FNA. It could be cool. I think if anything, I'd probably just open source the whole game and let people like take parts out if they wanted. There's kind of like a vaguely reusable set of game states for moving the characters around. They're not too like hard-coded to the characters that are in the game. You could probably reuse them. But yeah, there's a lot of the code is like mixed up, like the rendering alongside like the UI and stuff. It would be difficult to repurpose it for a whole new game. Not impossible, but yeah, just not as straightforward as like anything that was designed to be an engine to start with. Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you very much for tuning to this stream. I think I'm going to leave it there. Might as well keep it short and sweet. Unless anyone has any more questions about this game or GameDev back in 2010. I will say that the Xbox 360 was like an enormously exciting system for me at the time, and I desperately wanted to make something that would run on an Xbox. So when Microsoft announced XNA, I was like really excited about making it, and I first started developing Miasma on PC and got it working to the point where it was a game, and then I tried making a build for Xbox, and it ran at about 3 frames per second because I was generating so much garbage during allocating memory, and then yeah, it all having to be cleaned up, and the garbage collector wasn't very efficient, so I had to go through this process of optimization and like not generating any garbage anymore. I wrote some like special classes for managing strings and doing all my string formatting without producing garbage. And it was an interesting optimization challenge. Because also the thing is, when you get a game running at 4 frames a second, nothing like tells you why it's running so slowly. You have to figure it out. And there were some profiling tools to let me know kind of what it was doing, but yeah, you sort of have to piece it together a bit like a detective and then go, oh, it's all the allocation. Something you might not have even realized could have been a problem before you then realize it is one. Most XNA and FNA is 2D. This could be a great example for getting more out of the FNA framework. Yeah, I remember there were a lot of 2D games at the time, and a lot of kind of cookie cutter games. And I remember a lot of zombie games and a lot of massage games as well, like things that would like vibrate your controller and they would sell it as a massage app. I remember like feeling quite bitter about it because I was working so hard on this 3D game, and then the top selling game like week on week would be like some Xbox 360 massage app that just vibrated the controller, and I was like, I could write that in one evening. What am I doing, like spending so long doing this turn-based game? But no, I love seeing like the games made with XNA that have got like a lot of layers of effort put into them. Things with like quite nice UI and AI and some kind of animation. I think just makes things look so cool. Yeah. I really liked DLC Quest when it came out, because it was not only like a really fun kind of jab at the industry, because DLC was just kind of taking off at the time, but it was also just a really fun platformer as well. And I messaged the author because I think we both had something to do with Xbox Live Indie Games at the time. Yeah, it's interesting. I was actually a Microsoft employee while I released this game, and I was working for Lionhead Studios while they were still open. We were working on like the Milo project at the time, which didn't get released as a game, but you can find some like videos and presentations that were done on it. And then we ended up making Fable: The Journey for Kinect. But yeah, I made both of these games while I was at Lionhead. And Pete was also at Lionhead at the time, and he chipped in, and they were cool with it. They didn't like stop us developing a game in our spare time. And I think because XNA was also a Microsoft venture, they were mostly quite pleased that we were doing stuff in our spare time that also helped Microsoft in some way. So yeah. Matthew says, I made a game with zombies in it. Was that XNA? Xbox Live Indie Games? I didn't know that. I do remember it coming out. Yeah, I also slightly mispriced them. I think I sold the first Miasma at $4.99, which was a lot for an indie game, and I remember getting like a bit of backlash about that. But I'd worked on it for over a year, and I thought, come on, $5, that's nothing. Well, I think it was like 500. Not gamer points. What was it? The Xbox Live currency. Anyway, that. And for Miasma 2, I slightly learnt my lesson and I priced it a little bit lower. Yeah. I also remember Magica, that wizard game. I didn't realise that was XNA until I was playing it and I saw it crash. And it showed me a call stack that was clearly calling into Microsoft.xna, and I was like, wow, okay, they're using it, and they've got their game on Steam. I did email Valve towards the end of development on Miasma 2, and I said, I really want to get my game on Steam, and they said it's not a good fit for our platform. No, this was Miasma 1, I think, actually, and yeah, they were quite snooty about it. Then shortly after, the Greenlight system came out, and I applied to that, and then eventually it got approved on Greenlight, but by that point it was years later, and I was already working for like a new company and like putting most of my time on that, And at the time, I didn't feel like revisiting this. So, yeah. Yeah, there were a lot of kind of cookie-cutter 2D games. I don't know, it's smart to start making 2D games if you're just getting into game development. Like, the first game I made was Tetris. Like, just remaking Tetris. Actually, that's not true. The very first game I made was a text adventure on my dad's Zenith 8086 PC. Like, it had a monochrome green and black monitor, and I made a text adventure game because I'd been playing a game called Humbug, written by Graham Cluley, and it was a very funny and very enjoyable text adventure game, and I wanted to make one as well. So that was the first game I made, and I was about 10 years old. And then I didn't do a lot of programming until I went to university, did a little bit of coding there as part of my course, and then after I graduated, I didn't really know what I wanted to do at all. So I actually got into like games testing at Codemasters, and then I remembered that I could program. So I sort of like found DirectX 7 or DirectX 8 and just made some 2D DirectX games like Tetris and Asteroids. I even made a game for the original Xbox, and yeah, got that running as well. But it was also a Windows game, and yeah, that was called like Slime Volleyball. So you could have these slimes like chucking a volleyball around, and that was quite fun. And yeah, took it from there really, and then started getting into 3D development. Yeah, okay, right. I've gone off on a bit of a tangent now, but thank you very much for coming to watch my stream. It's been quite cathartic to talk about my old games, and yeah, if you're into game dev, good luck. Maybe I'll see you out on the scene, maybe at some conference or something. But yeah, if you want to know anything more or just want to say hi, then leave it in the comments on this video on YouTube, and I'll definitely read them. Okay, right. Thank you for tuning in, and I'm not sure if I'll do another one of these exactly, but I'm sure I'll do another stream sometime. Okay, bye everyone. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Thanks.